A good stock dog is worth its weight in gold.
And a good cow dog will take the place of 2 or 3 guys horseback.
But a dog isn't like a machine.
You can't just, get one and punch a button or two and they go out, do the job, and you just sit there.
Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs out of Granbury, Texas, joins me today to talk about how he got his start, things to consider if you're looking for a dog, and things to consider once you have the dog. Plus, the one most important thing a dog needs to know. Find out what that is and more on this episode of the Working Ranch Radio Show. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm your host, Justin Mills. We are glad to have you here with us for episode 46. Today is 46, so if you want to go back and listen on any of the podcast sites that are out there, that's how you'll know what to go back and look for, is episode 46. And if you're joining us right here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM, thanks for joining us here this weekend, where you will find us each and every Saturday and Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, and appreciate you tuning in that way as well. Well, on our show today, I don't know if you remember a couple episodes back. In fact, it was episode 41. I had Dallas Mount, who is the CEO of Ranch Management Consultants, joining us on our program. We each come up with a list of 5 things that we thought would help a rancher in terms of profitability, efficiency, and productivity. And one of the tools that I suggested was a good stock dog. And I stress the point good, because I will tell you right now, if it's not a good stock dog, I don't even want to mess with it. But nevertheless, it was something that came up. In fact, I had some folks email me and say, hey, could we do a show on stock dogs? And I thought, well, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And so I reached out to Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs out of Granbury, Texas. He is joining us today. We're going to be talking about stock dogs, things that from his experience that he would recommend, some advice, and also, as I said in the opening, what is the one most important thing that he believes a dog needs to know? We will find out what that is as Jason Terrell joining us in our next segment as our featured interview today. Also, the Captain Tim O'Byrne will be by in just a moment to drop in his 2 cents for our show today. And then, of course, our last segment today, meteorologist Don Day will be joining us as we look at our long-term weather, as we see some weather coming into next week. And the meteorologist and folks, they're kind of, some folks see it one way, others see it another way. We're going to hear what he has to say about what we're going to be looking at for our long-term weather into next week. I want to take some time here now to thank the sponsors of the Working Ranch Radio Show, the American Simmental Association. And, there have been some fundamental changes that the American Simmental Association has brought to the table that they believe helps ranchers move their operations forward. Things like pedigree knowledge with actual performance records, and now some very advanced genomics along with it. It's providing more predictability to you, the rancher, so that you can make management decisions about the bulls you buy that increase profitability to you. SimGenetics, profit through science. Find out more at simmental.org. Other sponsors include Biozyme, protect and recovery with VitaCharge by Biozyme. For more information, visit vitafirm.com/Vita-Charge. Hargrove Ranch Insurance, providing pasture range and forage insurance to ranchers all across the nation. For a free custom quote, all you need to do, give them a call at 325-573-8975, or also check them out online at hargroveinsurance.com. And finally, Keneally Angus. Their fall bull sale's coming up. In fact, it's going to be this month, the Monday before Thanksgiving, November 22nd. If you'd like more information or to request a catalog, go to their website at KeneallyAngus.com. Now, by the way, you might think just because you're a long ways from the Sandhills in Nebraska that you can't buy a Keneally Angus bull. And here's the deal. That's not true. You can buy them from Keneally Angus no matter where you're at. They winter the bulls and they deliver nationwide. Give them a call. Jerry, Gabriel, or Jed at Keneally Angus. Their fall bull sale coming up Monday, November 22nd. Check them out online at KeneallyAngus.com. Well, now it is time to check in with the Captain Tim O'Byrne, publisher and editor of Working Ranch Magazine, for this week's edition of Tim's 2 Cents.
Hey, Justin. Hey, everybody out there in Working Ranch Radio Land. If you have not made arrangements with someone to come and chore up while you bust off the ranch and head down to Las Vegas, Nevada, December 8th to 10th, the final week of NFR, everybody's going to be in town. And that's when we're having our Working Ranch Expo, the very first one at the convention center. It's going to be a lot of fun. Some great seminar speakers. We've got amazing exhibitors and good food, a lot of fun. It's going to be great. Come on down to the convention center, just up the way from Cowboy Christmas. You guys all know where it is. We're going to be there. And the first 100 people through the door every day get a Yeti coffee cup. That's a $30 value. It's one of them good wide ones with the handle and the lid on it, and it'll keep your coffee hot for a week. Come on down. Working Ranch Expo, December 8th to 10th. Justin, you're going to be there, and you're going to be dressed for success. I just feel it. Can't wait to see you guys. Working Ranch Expo. Back to you in the studio, Justin.
You bet, Captain, and I am looking forward to being down in Vegas for this year's first ever Working Ranch Expo. Now, folks, here's something. If you have the latest copy of Working Ranch magazine, and I'll tell you how you'll know, because it's got a Charolais bull and a Charolais cow on it. That is the latest copy. Turn to page 17, and you will see a list, a lineup of all of the speakers that will be at the Working Ranch Expo, the times that they will be speaking, what they will be talking about, and some of the speakers that are going to be on that list, they are the same ones that we've had on the Working Ranch Radio Show from time to time. For example, Dallas Mount will be there. Our very own meteorologist Don Day will be presenting as well. And, of course, Lamar Steiger will be there. I want to thank the folks at Beringer Ingelheim for bringing Lamar Steiger in to talk about reimagining the beef case, how Walmart and 44 Farms are reshaping the beef industry, and how you can cash in, too. Lamar Steiger presenting on that, and looking forward to meeting back up with him. And, of course, also looking forward to listening in on Dr. Joe Gillespie with Beringer Ingelheim, his talk on sending parasites packing. And when I say that, what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about your in-laws that come too early and stay too long at your house during a holiday. I'm talking parasites in cows. Dr. Joe Gillespie will be the speaker from Beringer Ingelheim. That presentation set to take place on December 9th at 11 o'clock in the morning. So a good list of speakers. Take a look at all of that list in the latest copy of Working Ranch magazine. Well, with that, let's take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to get into our featured topic of the day, and that is on stock dogs. Join us. Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is coming up next on the Working Ranch Radio Show. There's assurance in buying bulls from a proven program, and a program that's been proven time and time again is Keneally Angus. So mark your calendar now for Keneally Angus Fall Bull Sale, Monday, November 22nd, the Monday before Thanksgiving, offering approximately 350 head of fully guaranteed older bulls with free wintering and free delivery nationwide. These are bulls out of the industry's leading sires with genomic enhanced EPDs. They'll also be offering 6 head of heifer calves. Remote bidding will be available. So for more information or to request a catalog, go to KeneallyAngus.com. It's Keneally Angus Fall Bull Sale, Monday, November 22nd at 12 noon Mountain, the Monday before Thanksgiving. Welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. I'm your host, Justin Mills. Glad to have you here back with us as we now get into our featured interview today. And it's being brought to you by Biozyme. Protect and recovery with VitaCharge by Biozyme. For more information, visit vitafirm.com/Vita-Charge. Well, joining us now as we talk on our featured topic today, which is on stock dogs, is Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs out of Granbury, Texas. And Jason, thanks for joining us today here on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jason, this topic of a stock dog, where this kind of came from of me reaching out to you had a lot to do with a show that we did previously back on episode 41. And one of the, it was 10 things on profitability, efficiency, and productivity. It was an interview I did with Dallas Mount. And one of the things that I had in my list was a good stock dog. And so I wanted to reach out to you because I know you've got a pretty wide history of training dogs, using dogs, and so I wanted you first, before we get into some of the details of a stock dog that I know people are going to be interested in, just some stuff to know. I wanted you to give us some background of yourself and how you've used and are training stock dogs.
Okay. Where I really got started at was about 8 to 10 years ago. I was out west, Nevada, Utah area. And out in that part of the country, it's high desert, some canyons and so on and so forth. And so I was with a buddy of mine, and he had a big lease, and we were gathering. And the first time that I really was around a lot of good gathering dogs, was out west. And so I seen these dogs, go, I forgot it, how far he actually sent the dogs, but it was a good ways. And it really intrigued me because I was going to ride out with him, and he said, no, we don't have to go all the way. The dogs, we'll go and find the cattle and, just handle them, get behind them, and bring them back to where they were sent from. And I thought, man, I've got to see this because at that point in time, I was running some cattle there in southern Utah, and every time I had to go, gather or whatever, I always had to depend on neighbors or friends or this and that, and it was always a pain because nobody was ever on my schedule. Yeah. So I seen these dogs, and sure enough, they went out, they handled the cattle in a very, very, calm demeanor once they got the cattle handling, and brought them to us, and I was absolutely amazed. So I started, researching the gathering breeds, the hanging cow dog, the border collies, kelpies, Australian shepherds, and my first dog was a border collie, and then I got a few hanging tree cow dogs as well, and that's kind of where I started at, and everything kind of moved forward from there.
So let's get into now on these dogs because I know from the outside looking in, people would say, man, I really want a dog. And there's more to it than just that. And I think that was the part of the purpose of this show is to, when we see somebody's good dog and we think, man, I really want to have that ability. And so when somebody sees that, like you did, and you were out there, you saw somebody's good dog and then move to the next step of, okay, I'm going to have a dog. What does that look like? I mean, what are we talking about there? Because it's I guess I feel sometimes that I don't want to discourage folks, but I don't know that everybody fully understands the commitment that it takes when you start to decide, okay, I want a working dog. What's that look like?
That is a lot of truth into that, and commitment is the main word there, the main focus. And a lot of people has a misconception or whatever of handling dogs and being able to work the dogs. And so when I seen it, and I was so amazed at what these dogs can do, I said to myself right then and there that I'm going to learn how to operate one because I need these. And at that point in time, I did not have any inclination of being where I am today as far as training for the public, making great ranch dogs, and helping other people, get to the point where I'm at. And so I made a commitment to myself that I was going to learn everything that I possibly can. And I started researching, and there was, a lot of great videos out. And at that point in time, there wasn't as many, videos like on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that at that point in time. And so I just started, finding the different dog guys that from the past, that had good, videos out, training videos, so on and so forth. And so, I ordered a bunch of them, and every night I would sit down and I would watch them, and I would, dissect them, and I would, just go through them over and over, because I had the commitment, in my mind and my heart that, I was going to get and make some phenomenal cow dogs. And the only way to do it is to learn how to operate them, because these are not, over a period of time, these are not machines. You can't just, get one and punch a button or two and they go out, do the job, and you just sit there. They're pretty much like you have to use them like another hired hand, or, and a good cow dog will take the place of 2 or 3 guys horseback. And so this was my answer of, man, it'd be easy to send them dogs out, gather, find the cattle, gather them, put them in the pens, and I didn't have to have a lot of people helping me.
Yeah. Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is my guest today out of Granbury, Texas. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back on the Working Ranch Radio Show, we're going to be talking about what you need to do next if indeed a dog is what you're wanting to go after. Before you physically go buy that dog, something you should do ahead of that. We're going to talk about it when we return on the Working Ranch Radio Show. It's weaning time, one of the biggest days of the year for you and the most stressful for your calves. Ensure a smooth transition with the VitaCharge Weaning Program. This 2-step program with the AmaFirm Advantage gives calves the nutritional boost they need to get through the first weeks of weaning, accelerate appetite, increase weight gain, and improve health. It's weaning time. Get them ready with VitaCharge. For more information, visit vitafirm.com/Vita-Charge. It's a competitive calf market, and buyers want calves that will perform, period. And a proven solution is Simmental. In fact, data from the Tri-County Steer Carcass Futurity from 2002 through 2018 on nearly 60,000 head of calves revealed that Simmental sired calves represented the highest carcass-valued sire group over English and other continental breed groups. And the sire group that was the second highest carcass value was Sim Angus sire. So, the proof's right there. For low-risk, high-potential calves with earning potential, be confident that Sim Genetics will give you more per head, period. Stand strong, Simmental. Welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm your host, Justin Mills. We're glad to have you here along with us today. By the way, this is episode 46, so if you want to go back and listen to it, that's how you know which episode to go and listen to. And if you're just joining us in our program today, Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is my guest today, and I reached out to Jason because I had done an episode 41 with Dallas Mount, who's the CEO of Ranch Management Consultants, and we both sat down together and come up with a list of 5 things each that we thought would be help a rancher in terms of profitability, efficiency, and productivity. One of the things on my list was a stock dog, and partly because I was raised with good working dogs. My dad had them, and I have them now, and they're just a part of our operation. I need them to. It's almost like I have an arm cut off if I don't have my dog with me and we're working livestock. So, Jason Terrell, as I said, my guest today with Diamond J Stockdogs, and Jason, you were explaining a little bit in the first segment about how you kind of got your start. And also the fact that nowadays there's a lot of access to video out there, both for watching good dogs work and training dogs as well. And so before we actually go buy a dog, what is one of the most important things you feel needs to be done?
My number one recommendation, if people, are going to, start thinking about getting a cow dog, start researching the breed that, they think that they're going to be interested in, because there's several different, gathering breeds out there. Me personally, I like the hanging tree cow dog. It was developed by Mr. Gary Erickson and his son Chalk years ago, and they put 3/8 Calbred Border Collie into it, an 1/8 Catahoula Cur, a 1/4 Kelpie, and a 1/4 Australian Shepherd. But I like it because it's got a little bit of everything in it, far as herding ability, the cur for, going and hunting and finding and winding cattle in brush or whatever the case may be. The Kelpie, for the endurance and slick coat of the cow dogs. And then he put, one Australian Shepherd into it, Black Bear, that was super gritty, that could handle anything. And so, my opinion, he done a phenomenal job on this breed. But there's also the Border Collies. A lot of people use Border Collies, and there are some great Border Collies in this country. Also, Kelpies. There's a lot of people that use Kelpies, and there are people that use Australian Shepherds. Another breed of cow dog, which, me personally, I don't use, but there are a lot of guys that do, are straight blackmouth curs. So there's a lot of different options that people have, but I would, highly suggest if you, whatever breed a person chooses, to research it and then find, someone in your area or, close to you that, you can get with, learn from, and take good advice. And like I said earlier, there are a lot of good videos out there for training videos, but I would do my due diligence of, learning the breed that you are going to be working.
Yeah. Jason, not everyone is cut out or wants to be a dog trainer, but they do see the value of having a dog and want to get a dog that's already been trained. As they look at that option, what would you suggest?
If you are going to go this route, spend the adequate time in learning the dog that you are going to get, and get some, cattle once you get the dog to your house. Get somebody, whether the trainer or somebody else, to help you get your cattle dog broke. And whether it's 3 or 5 head in a kind of a smaller area, that you can go and practice with your dog. Because if you just automatically take that dog from whomever you bought it from, and it's well started, and you think that just automatically you're going to go and gather 100 head, it's not going to work that well for you, because you're going to be in the wrong place. The dog's going to be confused because, you are not, working it like it was trained. So, I would, definitely encourage the individuals, and I don't care, once again, what breed it is, I would highly encourage you to, work with that dog, whether it's, 2 or 3 times a week, every day, whatever the case may be, and practice with it. Because, like I said earlier, we do this on a daily basis. So for, a good handler that works dogs every day, it's second nature to them. But somebody new getting into it, they're going to make mistakes, and it's going to be trials and tribulations until you get it figured out on your own. And then one day, just like I tell a lot of my customers, I said, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be aggravated, you're going to want to throw your hands up, because it's just going to keep, going back in your mind. Well, Jason was able to work this dog with ease, and this dog was doing this, and I can't even, get it to go 15 feet after 3 cows. But it's one of those deals that once you practice, and then the dog understands that what you're doing, then everything starts coming together. And then one day a light switch will pop on, and then the individual say, wow, now I understand what Jason was talking about. And I wish I'd have had these cow dogs 10 years ago, because it's made my life so much easier. Because, if you've never really done it, it's not going to come just overnight. You've got to understand, how the dog works. And the biggest deal is commands, because a command is not a suggestion. It needs to happen, and the handler, whomever it is, needs to be strict about it and forceful, because if not, that dog, is just like a kid. It's going to try you, and if you're not able to back up what you're talking about or your commands, they just going to try to get away with every little thing that they possibly can. And I find that, a lot of times people will be just content on getting a little bit, where when I train dogs, it's It's got to be, this is what I told you to do, and I want it done now, and then the dogs figure out that, hey, if, I do what he says, I'm rewarded for it, but if I don't, I get in trouble, and it just makes everything work in a lot more harmonious situations.
Mm-hmm. Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is my guest today, and Stock Dogs is our featured topic for our program. And Jason giving us some good advice there about if you're really not meant for training a dog from a pup up and you end up wanting to just buy a dog that's already trained. Some good advice there from Jason on that. When we come back, Jason, I want to visit more about what you feel is the biggest mistake you had with your dogs, and then also what is the one thing that every dog needs to have or needs to know. We're going to talk about that when we come back on the Working Ranch Radio Show. Animal health is key to your business. So how do you track cattle health treatments? Well, stop relying on pen and paper or complicated programs. Performance Beef helps you record processing data, enter costs, and track animal health history all in real time at the chute. The mobile app also makes it easy to log pasture and pen treatments on the go. Your health data is integrated with feed and financial information in one easy-to-use platform, accessible from your computer, smartphone, or tablet. Find Performance Beef online to request a demo. Welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I'm your host, Justin Mills. Thanks for joining us here this week. And by the way, this is episode 46 on our podcast site. Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is my guest today. He continues with us here today. And Jason, I think for a lot of folks, I know myself, the very first dog I ever started training, a little apprehensive, not wanting to screw the dog up. And so with that in mind, I'm going to ask you, what was one of the biggest mistakes you made?
Expecting a dog to do more than what it's ready for. I've gotten myself into different positions and situations in the past that when I was working young dogs, I'd go out to go and gather or, whatever the case may be. And I would get my dogs into wrecks because they was not, mentally or physically prepared for what I was putting them into. They would be, doing great at home on, 3 head and, just doing phenomenal. And then, I'd say, well, I need to go gather these 50 head, or I need to go, try to find these, 15, 20 head on the river bottom or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I would take these young dogs. And of course, they all need real world experience. And so, but at that point in time, I should have increased my numbers at the house and let them understand, hey, there's, when I do send you, you need to gather everything. And so the mistakes I've made, was sending young dogs into stuff that would absolutely set them back mentally, because mm-hmm. they would just get messed up and just, I wouldn't say fry their brain, but yet, just be absolutely confused, and not be able to finish the job. Because I always try to end on a good note and a positive note any place that I can. So with those mm-hmm. aspects of, reality, I've learned, to prepare my young dogs better before I really take them out into the real world of, just a lot of, work where they are more mentally prepared and can handle, because young dogs is still going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. But if mentally they're prepared, they can overcome their mistakes, and then we can still finish on a good note.
You bet. When you and I talked about this, I said I'm always cautioned about going into interviewing somebody that's either horse trainers or dog trainers, because everybody's kind of got their own philosophies out there, and we're not really getting into the deep details of exactly how you're training a dog. But I want to know, in your opinion, though, if somebody's going to look at it like you did, and they're going to say, I want to just train my own dog. To get started, are there some real basic things to start on with a dog that just like is foundational on a dog training it before you start adding the buttons. And that's when people's philosophies maybe start to change a little bit, is, how we do these buttons, or do we add this kind of a button? And when I'm talking about buttons, folks, what I mean is basically things that they'll do, things that they can do. So from your point of view, just down in basics, I mean, and maybe it's not even stock dog related or working cattle, but just down to the basics of core foundation that this dog needs to have.
A down. The number one command that a dog needs to understand with no doubt in their mind is a down. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of people I see trying to work their own dogs, or, start their own dogs, is that they really struggle with getting a good down on their dogs. Mm-hmm. And where, I said earlier that a command is just it, a command. It's not a suggestion. It's not, well, let me think about it just for a bit and then I'll do it. It's, you need to do it now. And so that down command is very, very important, because it can either save you or get you into a wreck somewhere down the road. And so when people are starting their dogs, I'm very, very adamant, when I'm starting young dogs, I will make them down. And if they don't, I really get on to them, but as soon as they down, boy, I give them a lot of praise. And but with a down, it's kind of like a reset button. Mm-hmm. So if you have a great dog that's got a ton of drive, a ton of cow in it, wants to work. Well, if everything starts going awry, whether in the training pen, if you've already started getting side commands on the dog and you're out in a little bigger, area or whatever, if everything starts going completely haywire, without a shadow of a doubt, you can down that dog and regroup. It's kind of like a reset button. And then once your dog starts understanding his job as time goes on, and then you're out there really doing real jobs, getting the cattle from the pasture to the pens, that down, when you get the cattle in and you lay that dog in a gate, that's where he needs to lay down at. Mm-hmm. And you can use that dog for sorting, or, loading, or, trailers, or just straight gathering. Everybody uses their dogs differently in different situations. But if you have a down on that dog, that to me is the number one most important command, because an old man told me one time, and he was absolutely correct, that if you have a down on your command, or a down on your dog, and that's all you have, but that dog has a lot of drive and a lot of natural ability, mm-hmm. you can still gather cattle and pen cattle as long as you got a good down on your dog. Mm-hmm. Because once that dog gets around the cattle and the cattle start drifting to whichever way that the rancher, cowboy, whatever wants them cattle to start drifting, you can down your dog and then walk up and then down your dog. But if the dog doesn't have a down and all it wants to do is just, keep getting around cattle or chasing cattle or whatever, you're going to be in a wreck. Mm-hmm. You are not going to accomplish anything. And what I was talking about, just a few seconds ago about, somewhere down the road, that down will leave you, save you or get you into a wreck, and I've been in that wreck. That, everything went absolutely phenomenal gathering. I'd send my dogs out, gather a big group, and I'm headed to the set of portable pens or regular pens, mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. And I've got everything kind of just flowing through the gate just like I want. I tell my, dogs down. And if I've got one, dog that just kind of drifts a little bit, on a come by or on and away, and just gets too close into that cow's bubble, and especially if they're not just 100% dog broke and understand, what you want, well, then that dog leaks into that cow's bubble, and then maybe that cow comes out and wants to fight, and then, of course, that dog is already just right there wanting to do it, and then just grabs a hold of that cow. The cow jumps over the dog and just takes off.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, if that dog would have listened to you 5 foot or 10 foot previous on that down and stayed down, all the cows would have just walked right in that pen. You wouldn't have had any issues. But being that dog did not, just listen and have that solid down, now it's caused a wreck. So now you've got to either, one, go rope that one, or me, always take the rest of the cows to that one cow, because, I've got dogs that can go gather everything. So I'll regather and then try it again, but I wouldn't have been in that wreck if that one dog would have listened. So that's what, I was talking about, how important that down is.
Yeah. When we talk about different styles of dogs, and maybe that's the different ways that we are going to use them, because you've referred to a couple things there. I know from my own experience, we're going to go out, we're going to gather cattle, and that's a style of working a dog that is one way, how you use a dog in terms of gathering. Then we get into the corral, and and things change. And in fact, the dog that I've got now, she's great at the gather. We're really good there. And she's an older dog now. She's better at the corral work. But when she was younger, she was miserable in the corral. I mean, she had no confidence in there. And so when we get to that, I think there's some understanding we need to know as if we have a dog. There is some changes that happen with that and how that work happens. And so from your point of view, how do we take that dog and get them as much as we can? I realize a dog might have more instincts towards maybe the gather versus in the corral or things like that. But how do we make these a multi-purpose dog as best we can?
All right. Well, not every dog is going to work good in a set of pens. Mm-hmm. Because not every dog can take that pressure like what you had just mentioned, as far as confidence or whatever the case may be. So what I would recommend, if, I would work on that gather, and I would get that, gathering pastures to the pens and letting that dog 100% understand his job. And then if you do want to use your dogs in the pens, then I would go back and scale down the amount of cattle and so on and so forth. And then I would start in the pens, just bringing them through different gates, say, start with 5 head, mm-hmm. Or 10 head, but make sure that they're dog broke and, just not always wanting to fight the dog. Make sure that they're dog broke and moving off the pressure of the dog. And then you can start your dog, on the perimeter, bringing the cattle around, and then moving them from, gate to gate, pen to pen. Then once the dog understands that aspect, well, then you can just, set up any type of scenario that, okay, well, I'm going to, I'm going to take these 10 head and I'm going to sort out, say 3 and have him hold them 7 or, 5 and 5 or whatever the case may be. The individual can just pick a number and, work on any scenario that they, possibly want. And that's the way that I start mine on working in the pens, mm-hmm. because they start understanding that pressure. Then you can just add 15 head, 20 head, 30 head, and the job never changes. It's just the numbers.
Sure. Okay.
But not every dog is going to be a pen dog.
Yeah.
Because it's just, too confined. It's not to say that that's not a good dog, because it is on the job that it's absolutely awesome for. So you have to understand what your dog's ability is and, work on that. Don't just discount the dog because it won't do everything. It's just, certain dogs are better at certain jobs. It's just like us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a good transition into the next side of things, and that is back to us as the handler. And we've talked a lot about the dog, but I guess the one thing that I see this comes back to is us as a handler and as a person out there understanding stockmanship. And I think sometimes what I see out there is folks get a dog and they just it's like a hot shot on four legs is what I refer to it as. And every time them cows, I mean, whether they're doing something right or doing something wrong, them dogs are just after them cattle. And so to me, I look at this and I think, man, if I don't have a good grasp of stockmanship myself, with or without a dog, a dog's not going to make it better.
That is very, very true. If the individual doesn't understand cattle, you are correct. A dog is going to make it a lot worse.
Yes.
And I do, I'm always preaching stockmanship. I'm always, preaching, that dog doesn't always have to be right there in that cow's bubble. Once the cattle are handled and are dog broke, I try to keep my dogs off the cattle at all cost. If I can walk that dog up and I'm 10 foot away from that cow and that cow moves, I'm happy, because the less stress that you can put on the cattle, the better. Now, and a lot of people, man, they love to see dogs bite a cow. They, boy, that's a tough dog. That's, absolutely awesome. And yes, at times, you've got to have that dog bite a cow. I don't want a dog that's not going to bite a cow, but there's times to bite and there's times to not bite.
Yeah. Jason Terrell with Diamond J Stockdogs is my guest today. We have one more segment coming up with him before we let him go. And in the next segment, we're going to be talking about trial dogs training versus ranch dog training and his thoughts on that and some final comments from him as well. We'll be back with more on the Working Ranch Radio Show. Coming to the Las Vegas Convention Center, December 8th, 9th, and 10th, it's the Working Ranch Expo, brought to you by Working Ranch Magazine. It's thousands of feet of space filled with the ranch industry's leading equipment manufacturers and suppliers, plus great speakers that will inspire and educate you. And we're in the hall just across from Cowboy Christmas. Register to attend at WorkingRanchExpo.com. It's Working Ranch Expo by day, NFR by night. We'll see you at the expo. Welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm your host, Justin Mills, as we wrap up our featured topic today, interview with Jason Terrell on Stock Dogs. Jason, I know the world of trials, stock dog trials, is definitely something that a lot of folks have probably watched and find that very, very appealing, and it's really brought some enthusiasm back to folks owning a dog.
It's really sparked a lot of interest with a lot of people that's, never really seen a lot of cow dogs. And so they go to a cow dog trial and they really, see these, great, cool dogs working with phenomenal handlers, working on 3 head or 5 head in a lot of times in an arena setting or whatever the case may be. And, and so it sparks an interest, and then they start, either talking to handlers there or just researching on their own. And they've been thinking about, getting dogs. And not every trial dog will make a good ranch dog. Mm-hmm. It's just, one of those deals that, that's what they're comfortable at in the trial aspect. And then when they get out doing ranch work, it's a whole different ball game for them. And unless they're told what to do every single moment, they can't. A lot of them don't think on their own and so on and so forth. Where ranch dogs, you train them to go and gather cattle and handle cattle and think on their own. And I've had some that I have trialed and I have done very well in competition, but they were ranch dogs first.
Yeah. Well, Jason, we're about out of time here, but before we leave, just some final comments that you would offer to folks as they are thinking about this and wanting to proceed further into their endeavors of owning a stock dog. What would be some final thoughts and advice you'd offer them?
It just all depends on if you want to go the puppy route or a started dog route. If you want to go the puppy route, that if you have a family involved, kids, whatever the case may be, sometimes puppies are the best route, so you can get socialized, with the family. The number one deal I would find, whatever breed you want to go with, find a good breeder and a good trainer and visit with them. And, I can't stress enough that when you do decide to get a pup, make sure that, you find out what the parents can do. And, look for videos or ask for videos of the parents working, and just do your due diligent work. Just don't, purchase a pup just because it looks pretty or cute or, whatever the case may be. If you are going to get a started dog, spend some time with that trainer and, find out what the dog can do or can't do, and, watch videos of the started dog. Make sure that, it can work more than 3 or 5 head. If you have a ranch and you got, 50, 60 head, make sure that dog can, go out and handle the cattle that, you're wanting the dog to handle, or that particular type of terrain. Because if that started dog has only worked 5 head in a manicured pasture, but you're wanting to send it out in mesquite or on a river bottom or in cactus or whatever, it's a probability that dog is not going to adjust very, very easily. And also another thing that I would highly recommend, is to have that trainer, which I know I, offer. If you're in driving distance of me and you purchase, a started dog from me, or even a pup and send it back to me to train, and you're in driving distance, and once I get that dog trained and started well, I'll come to your place and help you get your cattle handling and dog broke. So it's a win-win for the customer or handler and dog, because a lot of times you may have 1 or 2 dogs and you don't know how to go about, dog breaking your cattle. So if you start with dog broke cattle, or at least, dog exposed cattle, it's a lot easier than just starting from ground zero. Yeah. And just scratching your head and say, okay, now I have this wonderful dog, but how do I do it?
Yeah. All right. Well, Jason, thanks for joining us here today. By the way, folks, DiamondJStockdogs.com. That's the website if you want to find out more about Jason Terrell. Also, his email is same thing, DiamondJStockdogs@gmail.com. He also has videos out on YouTube. So, Jason, thanks for joining us here today on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Jason Terrell has been my guest today, and our featured interview today is being brought to you by Biozyme. Protect and recovery with VitaCharge by Biozyme. For more information, visit vitafirm.com/Vita-Charge. Well, stay with us. Meteorologist Don Day is up next as we get a look at our long-term weather on the Working Ranch Radio Show. Ranching has been in the Hargrove family for generations, and they know the value of keeping a ranch in the family. Hargrove Ranch Insurance provides pasture, range, and forage insurance to ranchers across the nation. PRF Insurance is a USDA subsidized program that allows ranchers to insure against the risk of below-average rainfall. Hargrove Ranch Insurance utilizes industry-leading custom software to provide the rancher with information they need to stay up to date and educated on their policy throughout the year. Hargrove Ranch Insurance supports ranchers for this generation, the next, and those yet to come. Contact Hargrove Ranch Insurance at 325-573-8975 for a free custom quote, or online at hargroveinsurance.com. Welcome back to the Working Ranch Radio Show. I'm your host, Justin Mills, as we turn now towards our weather segment today, being brought to you by Hargrove Ranch Insurance, providing pasture, range, and forage insurance to ranchers all across the nation. Check them out online at hargroveinsurance.com. Well, we're joined now by meteorologist Don Day with a look at our long-term weather. And Don, thanks for joining us here on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
Good to be here.
So we always talk about our long-term weather here on the program, and when we look out into next week, there's a lot of consternation, a lot of maybe not everybody's on the same page as far as what next week is going to look like, because the weather could either be, if it's fast-moving, we're going to see one thing. If it's slow-moving, it's a whole other thing. But it definitely potentially bringing some precipitation across the country. So let's talk about why we have some confusion into next week's long-term weather forecast.
Well, we do have a lot of confusion, basically because we have a whole different set of circumstances that could lead to different outcomes. And that's not unusual as you change seasons, as the atmosphere goes through the turmoil of going one season to the next. A lot of times the computer models, which we use to try to forecast the weather out for 5 to 10 to 15 days ahead, sometimes have a difficult time with that, especially when we see the wind speeds like we're seeing with the jet stream out over the North Pacific. Well, this is something that we had a couple of weeks ago, Justin, when we had jet stream winds over 200 miles an hour hit the West Coast. We saw big rains in California and Washington and Oregon and big mountain snows. We're going to see another somewhat similar situation developing, as it is going to continue to be wet in those areas. I mean, one part of the U.S. that looks quite wet is going to be those Pacific Northwest areas from Central California up to Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia. And the rest of the nation's midsection, at least into early next week, is going to be pretty quiet. That also means good harvest conditions, no wet weather for the Corn Belt through the weekend and into early next week. But as we get to the middle of next week, those really strong jet streams out in the North Pacific will arrive into the nation's midsection, and that could draw in some Pacific moisture, and also it could draw in some much colder Canadian air. So across the northern states of the United States, the northern plains and northern Rockies into the upper Midwest could see some winter weather arriving mid to late week if this all comes together.
Mm-hmm. So with the weather that's coming in, how far south is that potentially going to go? Because we've seen a lot of moisture. We've been talking a lot about the West Coast. We're seeing and in the northern Rockies. How far south could potentially this weather go?
Well, it's going to affect just about all of the United States, including down into the Gulf Coast. That would be including Texas, down into the southeast United States, the southeastern areas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, into the Carolinas, and then some snow for the Great Lakes and rain and snow for the Corn Belt. The only area not really impacted is going to be the southwest United States, the Great Basin, Arizona, New Mexico, southern Utah, Southern California, Las Vegas areas. Those locations are probably going to be the areas that are going to stay dry, while precipitation chances will be found just about everywhere else. All
right. Well, Don, thanks for joining us here on the Working Ranch Radio Show.
It's been my pleasure.
That's meteorologist Don Day with a look at our long-term weather. By the way, his website is dayweather.com. Our weather segment today was brought to you by Hargrove Ranch Insurance, providing pasture, range, and forage insurance to ranchers all across the nation. Check them out online and ask for a free custom quote, hargroveinsurance.com. Other sponsors include the American Simmental Association, VitaCharge by Biozyme, and Keneally Angus with their fall bull sale coming up on Monday, November 22nd. Well, the Working Ranch Radio Show is a production of Working Ranch Magazine, and if you would like to get a hold of me, you can sure send me an email at justin.workingranch@gmail.com. Well, thanks again for joining us here this weekend. Tune in next weekend, Saturday or Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, right here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM, or on your podcast provider. Thanks again for joining us. I'm your host, Justin Mills, and until next time, keep your chin down and your mind in the middle. So long.